Quick midweek update. Yesterday, we shifted the core to Jacoby Brissett with Trey McBride, kept Devon Kane as a core piece, elevated Nico Collins, added Travis Etienne, rotated to the Seahawks defense, and kept Tyler Algier and Juwan Johnson for value while treating Keon Coleman as a punt. Based on updated projections, ownership movement, and fresh reporting, here is what we are changing and what we are holding. At quarterback, we are moving our primary build back to Josh Allen. Salary 7,500, dash rank 100, projected 23, and only about 9.2% owned against Pittsburgh, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 27. He averages 25 fantasy points per game with a recent run of 10, 48, and 24, so the ceiling is still tournament breaking while the field is light. The news angle backs the play too. Multiple reports noted Buffalo bolstering the roster after that 23-19 loss at Houston, which signals urgency and a get-right mindset this week. Yesterday, we preferred the Arizona correlation with Brissett, but with Allen's projection holding and ownership sliding under 10%, we prefer paying for the elite ceiling in a soft overall matchup. If you are stacking, Dawson Knox and Keon Coleman are our salary savers to pair, and we will get to both shortly. Our value quarterback changes as well. We are upgrading Tyler Show at 4,400 as the salary saver. Projected 15 at roughly 8.9% owned against Miami, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 22. The projection is less reliable because he has not started 3 games yet, but the role is secure per reports that the Saints named him QB1 after the 1-7 start, and Alvin Kamara even spoke on the quarterback shuffle this week. If you need the savings for stars, this is a viable path in large field tournaments. At running back, we are elevating Bijan Robinson into the core and moving off yesterday's Travis Etienne. Salary 8,500, dash rank 100, projected 21, ownership around 32.83%, and he faces the Jets, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 24. He is at 22 fantasy points per game, with recent lines of 15, 33, and 11. The why is straightforward. We prefer consolidating volume and touchdown equity in a favorable overall matchup, and recent fantasy coverage has framed Bijan as a weekly anchor as we approach playoff season. With his projection and matchup stronger than Etienne's in our model today, he takes the top slot. We are holding Devon Kane in the flex as a core ceiling play. Salary 8,300, dash rank 100, projected 23, ownership near 48.77%, and he draws New Orleans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall with an opponent rank of 17. He averages 22, with recent games of 25, 44, and 17. Trade deadline reports said teams called on Kane but Miami kept him, and his own comments about the organization this week point to sustained involvement. Nothing changes there. The explosive upside justifies the chalk. For value at running back, we are keeping Tyler Algier as a leverage piece off Bijan. Salary 4,500, projected 7, only about 1.7% owned, and the same favorable overall matchup against the Jets. Recent production of 6, 10, and 18 with an 8-point-per-game baseline makes him a viable salary relief option that benefits if game flow tilts run heavy or if Bijan seeds a series or two near the goal line. At wide receiver, we are rotating to Michael Wilson as our primary mid-range target and moving Nico Collins to secondary status. Salary 5,900, dash rank 100, projected 13, ownership around 9.2%, and a matchup with Tampa Bay, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 25. He averages 10 with recent spikes of 25 and 37, exactly the kind of ceiling we target at modest ownership. This shift is driven by price to projection efficiency and the matchup. Recent discussion asked whether Michael Wilson is startable in fantasy, and his usage trend plus this soft overall spot makes the answer yes for tournaments. We are keeping Keon Coleman as a punt-only piece in Josh Allen stacks. Salary 3,500, projected 3, about 1% owned, with Pittsburgh presenting one of the worst defenses overall. The last three are 0, 0, and 14. So the floor is fragile, but the leverage is real. Coverage has noted his benching since his debut, and even criticism from Steve Smith, which should depress ownership further. If he pops for a red zone target or two in Bill stacks, he pays off the punt tag. At tight end, we are pivoting from Trey McBride to George Kittle for ownership and game theory. Salary 5,300, dash rank 100, projected 14, with about 12.4% ownership against Cleveland, who have a tough defense overall with an opponent rank of 5. Kittle's recent 11, 25, and 23 reinforce the ceiling, and we gain leverage away from the popular Arizona stack we used yesterday. Media chatter around Kittle continues to highlight his primetime reliability and yards after catch skills, and we are happy to be earlies if the field shies away due to the tough overall matchup. We are also adding Dawson Knox as a value bring along in Allen stacks. Salary 3,000, projected 6, ownership around 6.87%. And he gets Pittsburgh, who have one of the worst defenses overall. Recent lines of 5, 3, and 7 tell you what this is. He is a salary saver that increases correlation and unlocks the Josh Allen build. Juwan Johnson remains our value flex and secondary tight end. Salary 4,200, projected 10, about 12.93% owned, and he faces Miami, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 22. He has posted 11, 19, and 12. Reporting around the Saints under Kellen Moore keeps Johnson in the passing core, and that steady red zone role plays well as a bring-back to a chain lineups. On defense, we are reverting from the Seahawks to the Chargers as our top unit. Salary 4,000, dash rank 100, projected 9. Ownership roughly 6.23%, and they draw Las Vegas, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 31. We are leaning into pressure and turnover potential in a favorable overall spot, and taking the ownership discount relative to other popular defenses. For value defense, we keep the Titans at 2,200, projected 5, ownership around 7.8% against Jacksonville, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 21. Recent defensive fantasy scores of 6, 5, and 20 show the volatility we want at this price in large fields. To summarize the changes from yesterday, we are shifting the core quarterback back to Josh Allen for elite ceiling at sub-10% ownership and positive Buffalo News momentum, elevating Bijan Robinson to our top running back while keeping Devon Achane as a core flex, rotating our primary wideout to Michael Wilson, pivoting tight end exposure from Trey McBride to George Kittle for leverage, and moving defense back to the Chargers while holding the Titans as value. We are maintaining Tyler Allgeier for leverage, Juwan Johnson as value with correlation to Miami builds, and Keon Coleman as a punt-only attachment to Allen stacks. The why is driven by ownership dynamics, clean projections against opponents who have one of the worst defenses overall where applicable, and the latest reporting that supports role stability and ceiling paths.